team, I'm back with another live video today. Cannot get enough of this gear. So today I'm actually going to be talking to Dr. Libby Quinn, who is a clinical psychologist. So just let me see if I can add her in and we can get cracking for today. Libby. Oops, lost you guys. How do I get you back there? Clearly, this is not my strong suit. So good at technology. So good at technology. Anyway, we will get there. There we go. I'm back. Now, how do I get Lib into this? So, as soon as I can get Libby on here, we will get started. As usual, materials and content are not recommended, you know, for you guys to take them as gospel. Just don't be a pelican. Seek professional medical advice if you need help. But today should be a really interesting chat with Lib. We're going to be talking a lot about food, disordered eating, binge eating, emotional eating. We're going to talk a bit around postnatal depression. And we're also going to talk about depression. We're going to talk about dealing with a loss of identity after kids. And there she is.
Hi.
Yo. Hi.
I figured it out.
See, we are just so techno.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I should have done that.
I'm sitting on the floor in my bedroom. And you've gone for the white background. Which
I am. Who knows if I'm in my office or in the toilet? You'll never know. No.
No one knows. No one will ever know. It's anyone's guess. It's anyone's guess.
Oh dear.
You've actually made some sort of effort to look delightful today, whereas I am just a sweaty, makeupless mess. As
you always look delightful. Well, that's a plus. That means you're winning at life. If you're out of your... No, you know what? Even if you're in your pajamas, you're still winning at life. Pajamas are comfortable.
I feel like that would be even more winning at life if you could just spend your life in your pajamas.
Life goals, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start this chat. I'm going to tell everybody about you in a minute. But first, what have you eaten today?
It's so funny you asked that right now because I am just secretly tucking into a bowl of halloumi. And
nothing better than halloumi.
Oh dear, I would potentially leave my husband for halloumi. I've rediscovered halloumi again. I have to say I'm having it daily. It's so good. But yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So halloumi, is that what you've eaten today?
Just a big block of halloumi. No, there's been eggs.
As long as you've had the whole block, I don't want you to be like deficient. No. So as long as you've had the whole block, I feel like you've got enough energy to get through this.
There's no concern about me being deficient. No, halloumi. There's some vegetables in the mix. Eggs. I've had eggs. Good ratio of coffee thrown into the mix, and
nice.
That's me so far. Yeah.
Ace, how do you take your coffee?
Oh, I'm just a straight up black kind of girl. Yep. Yes.
Right.
Hardcore.
Has that always been the case?
No, I've dabbled in every kind of milk you could think of, really. And then I thought...
Like a true addict.
I know. Look, I've tried it however it comes. And then I thought, have I just done something wrong? No. Yeah, then I just discovered how good coffee is just plain straight up. I like it. I used to have it black and then I kind of burnt my guts a bit doing that. But so far we're okay this time around.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So can I get you to just give everybody your quick elevator pitch? Who are you?
Who am I? Where do I start? All right, we'll keep it condensed. So I'm a clinical psychologist and I've just restarted working again after my second little man, although he's almost 2. So where did that time go? And I have refocused my practice solely working on women. Obviously, being a woman, I've learnt over the years how unique we are, not just psychologically, but physically. You know, I don't think anyone can argue against the fact that men and women are different. Like, physically. There's a bunch of difference there. So physically, there's so many differences. We're going to be facing unique challenges psychologically too, you know, with the different life adjustments that come up along the way. So yeah, I've always had an interest in women's health physically, and just wanted to make my psychology practice match that too.
And do you think a lot of those differences come from hormones as well?
Oh, hormones. Don't get me started. I think they have a lot to answer to. Yeah, I think hormonally there's so many different changes we go throughout our lives as women. You know, the start of menarche, when you're in child rearing stages, if you have children, if you don't have children, and what your hormones are doing then, menopause, and then if you face different health conditions as well that affect your hormones too. You know, our hormones are massive and responsible for so much, and they do affect us. They can have different effects on us emotionally and psychologically too, and then there's a feedback loop that can happen. So yeah, I think hormones are big. Yep.
And is there something particular that has triggered your change to want to work just with women?
Yeah, I think it's been a bit of a slow burn in terms of, like I said, I've always had an interest in women's health. And then probably after having my second baby, who's now almost 2, I can look back in hindsight and say I definitely had postnatal anxiety. I definitely had postnatal depression. And, you know, there was a range of different factors that led to that. I had a baby that wanted to breastfeed, that couldn't breastfeed, wouldn't take a bottle, whole bunch of different reasons. As well as I physiologically had different things going on with my hormones. My thyroid was out of whack. Oh, it was just a big mess. So I could see just how physically our bodies as women postnatally, can affect us psychologically, and then that feedback loop that happens. And I really believe, you know, once I started to open up to my friends about this, and other women started to open up to me about what had gone on for them, I was like, oh my goodness, so many of us are going through this, and there's a massive gap between women who are suffering and getting the right help that's out there. I think there's just a lot of barriers to that. So yeah, I want to try and reduce that gap as much as possible, because I just think, yeah, women's mental health, it's huge. We need to look after our mental health. That's my rant.
Yeah, no, so that's good. So just before we get into questions,
Oh.
as a clinical psychologist, you're obviously acutely aware of depression, anxiety, mood disorders in other people. Was that something that you had a lot of self-awareness around, or did it take you a while to actually think, I think there's something wrong here?
That is such a good question. It's kind of like the plumber with the leaky taps, right? You'd like to think that after, you know, I don't know, maybe 8 years at university, 10 years of helping other people, you'd have a clue. But no, we're all pretty, it's hard to have insight, absolutely. And sometimes knowing too much or having too much information makes it even harder. And so it probably wasn't once that I just remember I turned around to me, I think I'm depressed. I think that's what this is. Like, I don't think that this is normal. This is not just, you know, postnatal hormones or exhaustion or baby blues or whatever. So yeah, no, I didn't really have good insight. And I then went on a very big journey of not looking after myself for 12 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, hindsight's great.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard. Like, I think it's one thing to have awareness, to look at things from the outside and see in. It's very clear. Like, you can look at people and you can see all of the things, but it's actually very difficult to reflect on yourself, because you probably have a bit of a skewed view about what your reality is, or sometimes the stories that you tell yourself about the reality can be a little bit skewed.
Yes.
And also when you're in the trenches with a newborn baby, you don't even know which way's up. So difficult to identify, do I have postnatal depression, or am I actually just functioning on about 2 hours sleep in a 24-hour period of time?
Yes, absolutely. That was a lot to try and tease apart. And so it has given me, I suppose, just like buttloads of empathy for women around the differences that can come up postnatally. I think they're more unique experiences, because this was my second baby. So I was like, oh, I've got this. I've got one kid. They're still alive. I can do this. No, it turns out tiny humans are different, and you're different as well, in each situation. So it's given me, yeah, just a lot more empathy for the uniqueness of women's experiences at this time, as well as just, yeah, fueling me along to learn more about it and understand more about it so I can help more women with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's dive into some of the questions that we got.
Yes.
So you've already touched on a little bit about postnatal depression. What's the difference between postnatal depression and just baby blues?
Yeah. Good question. So baby blues, we know, can tend to hit 3 to 5 days postpartum because it's a big hormonal shift that happens. So obviously when we're pregnant, we are juiced up on estrogen and progesterone, and it is normally around the 3 to 5 day mark just plummets. And if that's plummeting, our mood can also plummet as well. So the difference between the baby blues and postpartum depression is that baby blues can hit at that 3 to 5 day mark. It can last up to 2 weeks. It generally doesn't last longer than that. So if you're noticing symptoms of feeling low, feeling anxious, feeling teary, feeling weepy, and that's lasting more than 2 weeks, I would say it's starting to fall into the category of postnatal depression. And the difference also tends to be is that baby blues, whilst you're in it, it can definitely feel pretty intense. A lot of women describe it as like really intense PMS type symptoms. You're just kind of all over the shop. But yeah, postpartum depression, the symptoms are a lot more intense, if that makes sense.
And so what is, sorry, yeah, keep going. Okay. And so what is postpartum depression? What actually is that? Why do we get it? How does it manifest in people?
Yeah. So there can be a whole host of different reasons as to why it develops. The same as any psychological condition that I suppose develops. It's what we can kind of use like a biopsychosocial model. So there's biological factors at play, there's social factors at play, and psychological factors at play. They all mix together. We can end up in the space of having condition, so postpartum depression. So if we think about, if we have just had a baby, that in itself physically is pretty big. Whether you've delivered naturally, whether it's a C-section, like that's major surgery. One, that's something really big physically that's happened. You combine that with what newborns do best in terms of not sleeping. So you've then moved from a space of probably getting okay sleep to maybe not enough sleep or broken sleep. The absence of sleep in itself can be a trigger in and of itself of depression. So we just have to go through a period of time in our lives and not get enough sleep, and it can trigger through delivering a baby. On top of just the psychological adjustment to I'm now responsible for this small human, and processing psychologically what just happened to my body. In terms of delivery. So you can have a planned C-section, you can have an emergency C-section, you can have a natural birth, whether that be with medication assistance or not, and things can go wrong. So we know having traumatic birth experience of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum psychosis. So yeah, again, that's just another factor that can be at play with that. Yeah.
Can men suffer from postpartum depression?
Absolutely. So as women and don't don't have babies, they absolutely can develop postpartum depression. Am I a feminist or what? But no, they can develop it because they've gone through a big life adjustment. They're going through, I've just gone from not having a child to now I have a child, or we've gone from one child to two children, and I'm meant to keep these humans alive too. And what about my needs in the mix? And oh, hang on, I'm not getting any sleep. Like, again, there's a whole range of different factors, if you look under this biopsychosocial model, that changes for men as well, and they can definitely be at risk. And they're more at risk of that. Their partner is going through the psychological adjustment as well. So if their partner is going through postpartum depression, anxiety or psychosis, men are more at risk too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of that, somebody feeling like they might be going through postpartum depression or anxiety or just having those sorts of, what would be the recommendation from you for somebody getting your thyroid tested, your vitamin D levels, your iron? Like, is that part of stuff too?
So I only heard snippets of that, but I think you're saying what should be the recommendations with that?
Yeah. So if someone thinks that they might have that, or they're around somebody who they think is potentially suffering from that sort of thing, is it a go and see your GP situation? Is it a you maybe need some thyroid testing, vitamin D testing, iron testing, as well as see a psychologist, see a counselor? Like, what's the plan of attack?
Yeah. Plan of attack. Awesome question. So if you are feeling like this, or someone you know is feeling like this, and I might also put up there the disclaimer that someone has said it really well, but postnatal is for the rest of your life. So after you've had a baby, you're classified as being in this postnatal period. It may not 12 months after having a baby, but you can develop postnatal depression at any point after having had a child. So what do you do in terms of help? I would say definitely go to your GP, and if you don't like your GP, find a good GP, one that you feel you can be really open with. And the thing that I've learned about seeking help, experience, and talking with other women too, is it's really hard, but you need to be really clear on what's going on for you. So, you think about how many patients in a day GPs might see. Oh, yep, you're another mum with a baby. Oh, you're a bit tired, you're a bit exhausted, you're a bit weepy. Ah, yep, okay, carry on, you're fine. So we've got to be really clear and saying, I'm not coping. I think I have postnatal anxiety or postnatal depression or postnatal psychosis. So that's our responsibility, which is really hard when you're in the mix of it, or getting your partner to come along with you to help you say those things. I feel like there's a big barrier to that. So one is being clear. I would go to your GP or a recommended GP who deals with this. And I would also be really clear on saying, I need to speak with a psychologist, or I need to speak with a counsellor that specialises in this. That's one thing. You need that psychological support 100%. So if you go to your GP, you can get Medicare rebates for sessions under that, which make it more financially viable. At the same time, if your GP doesn't recommend it, I would be asking to get blood tests. And generally a lot of GPs do, but not all. But your thyroid and iron postnatally can be two things that go a little bit skew-if. And if they're out of whack, your mood is going to be out of whack too. It's exhausting looking after a newborn, and you're going to be more exhausted if your thyroid's not functioning and you don't have enough iron pumping around your body. It's just going to be making it so much harder. Yeah.
So can I just ask a personal question of you now, and feel free to just not answer it. That's okay.
Go for it.
I'm not going to ask you about what colour underwear you're wearing. So when you identified that you were struggling and you kind of went, yep, okay, so did you see your GP?
Oh, that's a really good question. Did I see my GP? I think I did. I did. I did see my GP.
Yeah.
And
then did you see a psychologist, or did you just
I went home and I talked to myself in the mirror. I said, all right, lady, sort yourself out. You know what to do. No, I went to my GP, and this is where I'm talking about this was a really good life experience for me, where I went to my GP. I also went to my obstetrician, as you do, for a follow-up. How are you going, Libby? Oh, yeah, I'm okay. Fatal mistake number one. Jesus, is that just like automatic? I'm fine. I'm okay. Just a bit tired, a bit exhausted. I think I might be a bit anxious. I don't know. Oh, but you do have this. You're okay. So that was, and I understand now, they were busy doctors going about their day, but that was their response. And I made the second fatal mistake of not speaking up. So this is what I mean, where I think a big barrier for women seeking help is we might be assertive in that, really clear on what's going wrong and asking for what we need help with. So I ticked the boxes. I went to my doctors, tried to explain what was going on with me, and I then I didn't go and see a psychologist. So I then gave it a few months, and I was like, oh, you know what? They said I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm going to carry on like this. And then we just kind of nosedived down even further until thankfully, the support of an amazing husband and family around me that were like, no, dear, you're not okay. We need some extra help in here. And I spoke to an amazing psychologist who specialises in maternal mental health, and that helped to turn things around for me. But so this is what I mean, like even being a psychologist myself, even having the training under my belt, the experience to want to live a psychologically healthy life, and I nosedived. Like, so if someone in a position like me where I've got this information behind me and I can nosedive, what about all the other women out there? So I think it's critical, if it's yourself or someone you care about going through this, you need to seek help. Go to a psychologist online or somewhere near. If you find it hard to speak up, get your partner or a family member to come with you and help explain what's going on.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Cool. Yes. So, okay, this is on a bit of a different vein, but I've lost my identity after kids. How do I find me again?
I love this question. Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. I totally get it. And I'm sure you get it too, Shan. Like, having children is life-changing. It's amazing and blissful, and it's also really hard. And I think in this day and age, we're still kind of holding on to these archaic beliefs a little bit, even though we don't want to be, around trying to be the good mother, trying to just love it all, trying to just get totally immersed in it, and we should be happy with it. And everyone I know that has a child, they're so grateful for that ability to have a child, and they love their child to death. But it doesn't mean you have to love every single minute with your child. It's hard. It's really hard. And I think a part of what we can have that sense of losing our identity. So how do we get it back? I think it does start with, one, identifying that before being a mother, you were a person first, and that person's still there. They might be a little bit different. Emotionally, there's changes, and you're never going to go back to being the person you were. No one ever does with anything that happens in life. But we're